Right, so let me get this straight. The Labour government, the party that spent years banging on about protecting democracy, defending the will of the people, and standing up for working families, has just decided that actually, maybe democracy can wait a bit. Just a couple of years, no big deal. What's 2 years without a vote between friends, eh? Welcome back to UK Political Insight, where we cut through the nonsense and tell you what's really going on while everyone else is still trying to work out which way the wind's blowing. And today, today, we need to talk about something absolutely jaw-dropping. Keir Starmer's government has given local councils the option to postpone elections until 2027. Yes, you heard that right. 2027. That's not next year. That's not even the year after. That's so far away that we'll probably have hoverboards by then. Actually, scratch that. We'll probably still be waiting for HS2 to reach Manchester. But here's the kicker. They're doing this in the name of protecting democracy. Protecting democracy by not having democracy? That's like saying you're protecting your diet by eating an entire cake. It's like protecting your bank account by setting fire to your wallet. It's protecting something by doing the exact opposite of what that thing actually is. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. George Orwell would be taking notes right now. Now, the official line is that this is all about local government reorganization. 63 councils are undergoing changes, and apparently holding elections during this process would be too complicated, too expensive, too much of a faff. And in 9 areas, including East Sussex, West Sussex, Essex, Thurrock, Hampshire, Isle of Wight, Norfolk, Suffolk, and Surrey, elections have already been delayed by a year. 1 whole year of people not getting to have their say about who runs their local services, who decides how their council tax gets spent, who makes decisions about schools and social care and bin collections. Those tiny little things that don't affect anyone's daily life at all. Some councils, credit where it's due, have actually shown a bit of backbone. Essex and Hampshire county councils have said they're planning to go ahead with elections anyway. They've looked at this suggestion and basically said, nah, we're all right, thanks. We'll let the voters decide. What a radical concept, letting voters vote. Who'd have thought it? But in places like Thurrock, the Labour-led council is still weighing up its options. Weighing up its options. That's politician speak for we're trying to work out whether we can get away with this without too much backlash. They're unlikely to make a final decision until January, which means voters are sitting there twiddling their thumbs, waiting to find out if they'll even get a say in who governs them. Democracy on hold while politicians have a little think about whether they fancy being held accountable or not. Lovely stuff. And here's where it gets personal. There are people, real, actual people who were supposed to vote last year and didn't get to because their election was postponed. They were told it was a one-off, a temporary measure, democracy would be back next year. Don't worry your pretty little heads about it. And now those same people are being told to wait again. That's 2 full years without the chance to pass judgment on the people making decisions that affect their lives every single day. 2 years of paying council tax to people they didn't elect and can't remove. 2 years of watching councillors make choices without any fear of consequences at the ballot box. But wait, it gets worse. If these delays go through as planned, some councillors will end up serving 7 years without facing voters. 7 years! That's longer than most people stay in a job voluntarily. That's longer than most relationships last these days. That's an entire childhood from birth to primary school. 7 years where you can do whatever you fancy, make whatever decisions you like, mess up as spectacularly as you want, and never have to explain yourself to the people you're supposed to represent. 7 years without accountability. 7 years without consent. 7 years where power just exists because it already existed, not because anyone actually chose to give it to you. That's not democracy. That's not even pretending to be democracy. That's just power for the sake of power, dressed up in a cheap suit and hoping nobody notices. Now, the government will tell you this is all about protecting the democratic process during reorganization. They'll say it's about making sure everything runs smoothly, avoiding confusion, saving money. And if you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you. Actually, I've got several bridges. I've got the entire British transport infrastructure to sell you, because you'll clearly believe anything. This isn't about protecting democracy. This is about protecting careers. This is about labor looking at the polls, looking at the mood of the country, looking at the absolute kicking they're likely to get at local elections, and deciding that maybe, just maybe, it would be better for everyone, well, for them anyway, if those elections didn't happen for a while. It's about Keir Starmer knowing his party is weak, knowing voters are angry, knowing that if elections happen right now, Labour councillors across the country are going to be shown the door faster than you can say voter backlash. So, rather than face the music, rather than take their medicine, rather than accept that this is how democracy works, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, they're helping politicians dodge the ballot box entirely. That's not leadership, that's cowardice. That's the political equivalent of seeing the exam results coming and running out of the building before anyone can hand you your report card. And you know who loses when this happens? Working people. The people who pay council tax every month without fail. The people who follow the rules, who trust the system, who expect their voice to actually mean something. Those people depend on accountable councils to run schools properly, to manage social care, to deliver housing, to maintain local services that actually work. When elections get postponed, the people responsible for those things get insulated from scrutiny. Power gets protected at the top, while responsibility just evaporates into thin air. Meanwhile, families are still dealing with the consequences of every single decision those unaccountable councillors make. And here's the really scary bit. This sets a precedent. Once you establish that elections can be postponed without real necessity, without genuine emergency, what's to stop it happening again and again? What's to stop it becoming normal? We were promised an Essex mayoral election this year. That got cancelled. Now the government has refused 3 separate times to rule out postponing a general election. 3 times they've been asked, will you commit to not delaying the general election? And 3 times they've basically said, we'd rather not answer that actually. Any serious democratic government should have shut that speculation down immediately. Any government that actually believes in democracy should have said, of course we won't delay elections. What kind of question is that? But they didn't, which means power is starting to look less like something you earn and more like something you just assume you're entitled to keep. And that should terrify anyone who cares about how this country is run. Now, let's talk about the excuses, because oh boy, are they flimsy. First up, saving money. Apparently, elections are too expensive right now. Democracy costs too much. Well, here's a thought. Everything costs money. Running hospitals costs money. Building roads costs money. Educating children costs money. We still do those things because they're important. Democracy costs money because it's the foundation of everything else. If cost were a legitimate reason to cancel elections, we'd never hold them at all. We'd just let whoever's in charge stay in charge forever because, well, cheaper that way, isn't it? And if this government genuinely cared about efficiency and saving money, maybe they wouldn't have embarked on a massive, expensive local government reorganization that they clearly don't have the competence to deliver properly. Maybe they would have thought it through first. Maybe they would have had a plan that didn't involve canceling democracy as a solution to their own administrative failures. Just a thought. So let's be absolutely clear about what's happening here. Keir Starmer is hiding. Labour is hiding. Councils are being encouraged to hide behind reorganization and excuses and administrative convenience, and voters are expected to just accept it quietly, to nod along and say, oh well, I'm sure they know best, I suppose. I don't really need to vote this year or next year. Democracy can wait. Well, no. It can't, and we shouldn't accept it. Canceling elections, undermining democracy, treating voters like they're an inconvenience rather than the entire point of the system, that should be career-ending stuff. Anyone who asks for democracy to be delayed, anyone who signs off on postponing elections, anyone who thinks power without accountability is acceptable has absolutely no place in public life. None. They should be done. Finished. Out. Keir Starmer has shown that he's willing to sacrifice democracy for his own political survival. He's willing to let councils run unchallenged for years. He's willing to ignore the people who work hard, who pay their taxes, who expect representation, who expect their voice to actually mean something. That's not just disappointing. It's not just a bad decision. It's cowardice. It's contempt for the democratic process. It's contempt for ordinary people who thought their vote mattered. and it shouldn't be forgotten, it shouldn't be forgiven, and it absolutely shouldn't be excused. This isn't some minor procedural issue. This isn't technical adjustments to electoral administration. This is about whether we live in a country where the people in power answer to the people they govern, or whether we live in a country where politicians just do whatever they want until they feel like maybe facing the voters at some point in the distant future when it's more convenient for them. So here's my message to Sir Keir Starmer. Stop being a coward. Give people back their votes. Face the electorate like an adult. If Labour is going to lose, if councillors are going to get voted out, if the public is angry and wants change, then that's democracy. That's how it works. You don't get to pause the game when you're losing. You don't get to cancel the vote when the polls look bad. You face the voters, you make your case, and you accept the result. That's what democracy means. That's what accountability means. That's what having a spine means. Our democracy is not yours to destroy. It's not yours to delay. It's not yours to sacrifice for your own political convenience. It belongs to the people. And right now, those people want their vote back. If you're as furious about this as you should be, hit that like button, subscribe to UK Political Insight because we're not stopping. We post multiple videos every day keeping you updated on exactly